are going to be mixing up glaze, and as a production potter I have some really specific tips that I can share with you that helps us produce glaze in a reasonable amount of time, that lasts a good amount of time, and mixing it efficiently. So here are a couple of tips for you, or several actually. First of all, I'm going to be mixing up 40,000 grams, which is a pretty nice size batch of glaze. And I'm going to be mixing it in this large container. I like to mix it in a large container because it gives me the ability to dip bigger pieces rather than using a 5-gallon bucket. And this particular glaze, which is our white glaze, we use on almost all of our pots. So I like to have a lot of this glaze, and I don't want to be mixing it up every week. So that's why I have this very large plastic container. And I actually like it rectangular because if I have a really long piece, I can dip it in diagonally. So this is a piece of equipment that I bought from another potter. He was retiring and he made this, and this has a paddle on it. It has a Jiffy Mix paddle on it, and it moves up and down. Don't worry, you don't have to have one of these, but if you are one of those mechanically inclined people, this is a great system, because what I do is I slowly measure out the chemicals and add them while we are mixing. So I start with pouring water in the bucket and then slowly measure out my chemicals, and it mixes, and then when I'm done measuring, I just let it go for about a half an hour, and the glaze is usually great. So if you want to buy something commercial besides something like this, I'll give you a different tip. And this is something that I have used for years and years and years and years, at least 10 years, probably more like 20. So this is a slip master, and it is used to make slip. So if you are going to cast pieces in molds, this is a slip master that you would make your slip with. Well, I decided at one point I wanted to do that. I hated the process, and this piece of machinery sat here for quite a while until I realized, hey, I could mix glaze in there, not necessarily slip. So it has a motor on the top, it has a great big paddle inside, and I can do a good 40,000 grams, which is again a lot of glaze, in this slip master. The slip master is made in Indiana, if you are interested in it. And like I said, I put in a certain amount of water, I turn on the slip master, and I keep measuring out my chemicals and dumping them in and dumping them in. And I let it again mix for about half an hour after I was done dumping in all my chemicals. And the glazes turn out beautiful. Most of my glazes I don't even have to sieve because they're mixed up so well in these different systems. And of course you can always use the good old, get a drill, stick a paint paddle, a paint mixing paddle on it, and mix it that way. It takes a little bit more time, it's a little sloppier, but it does do the job. So now, how do I measure? So I have bought a cheap little digital scale, and I think actually probably got it at Walmart, and it has pounds, it has different units, and of course I use grams to measure out my chemicals. And this thing measures over 2,000 grams, but I usually do 2,000 at a time. I use this little thing here to put my chemicals in that sets on top of the scale. This is a plastic piece that you can buy at Lowe's or wherever else that goes underneath plants to catch the water. When you have a pot sitting on and you're watering your pot, this is the little plastic thing that you put under your pots. I like it because it's very lightweight, and because when I am dumping my chemicals into my container, I can bend it a little bit and slowly dump it in, and I have very little bit spilling anywhere. So this is a 12-inch round one. I actually have two, although I have it doubled up just to give me a little bit more strength. And I have used this probably for the last 5 years, and we mix up a lot of glaze, and it's great. And so this holds a good 2,000 grams, which works perfectly with my little scale that measures about 2,000 grams. So if I have, like for example, this glaze I'm going to be mixing up takes 8,000 grams of feldspar. And so I just measure out 2,000 at a time, dump it in, mark it down that I put 2,000 in, measure another 2,000, mark it down, dump it in until I get to my 8,000. And that works out great for me, and that's how I've done it for years. Let's see, what else can I tell you? Oh, the last thing is how we store our chemicals. And, you know, they've got these really expensive commercial tables that have these great little drawers that tip out to put your chemicals in. What I use are these dog food containers, and they will hold 50 pounds of glaze, or 50 pounds of chemicals. And so it's perfect. It's the perfect size. Almost all the chemical bags fit in one container. So, like, for example, this one has talc in it, and I can get a whole bag, 50-pound bag of talc in one of these containers, and it shuts down and it keeps the chemicals away from us and out of the air. And of course, whenever we measure out our chemicals, we always wear a protective mask. I use an N95 and sometimes even a shield over my face, so if something splashes up, I don't get any glaze in my eyes. So those are the tips I have for today about how to mix up glaze. If you have questions, let me know, and we will make another video if we need to. I'm not going to put a mask on and show you how I measure out glaze. I think it is pretty easy. I'm sure there's some other videos on YouTube how to do that. But if you want to see me do it, I will put a mask on and do that for you. It's just kind of hard to talk and explain what I'm doing. So anyway, that is it for today. This is Sue with Salvaterra Pottery in Weaverville, North Carolina, and we will see you next time. Bye.